Hello everyone, Azzapp here, and today we're going to update the Vel'Koz build paths, all the Vel'Koz playstyles for Season 13. I have done enough testing at this point that I can confidently make the calls on what would be the best playstyles and best rules for Vel'Koz in Season 13. Season will begin in about a month, so not much will change from now on. I think it's stabilized to the most part. The meta is kind of solidifying, and now we have clear-cut decisions as to what to build. So the very first thing, we have to chat about the recommended rune system. We begin with the recommended rune system, which Riot has implemented. I'm really happy about this. They've nearly taken copy-paste of my runes, which is very interesting. They even took the Dark Iris, which is not popular at all. I'm one of the rare players who actually does that. And I hope I did something to popularize this to an extent. It's a very, very good playstyle. The big issue here is the Ignite. They're putting Ignite on every single playstyle, which is an absolute mistake. Now, I'm not sure if Riot does this manually, or do they actually do this based on machine learning and taking the data from all the games. If that is the case, I don't know what the fuck Vel'Koz community is doing, honestly. Like, taking Ignite is tantamount to trolling. I think it's justifiable in like 5% games at max. There's almost always something better to take, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. If you're a mid lane and you take Ignite, you're an absolute troll. You should be reported. On the support, you can get away with it sometimes if they have like Soraka, Vladimir, stuff like that. You really need to target. Like, even versus Vladimir, you were never really ignite him, like, unless he's a moron. He's just gonna blow you up. So it works against like Warwick or like maybe Silas, Soraka, stuff like that. It's just not worth it. You will always go into heal reduction in that case with Liandry's. So anyway, I just wanted to rant about this a little bit. I'm really happy that these are done, and it will kind of teach people like how to play ability, damage, and cooldown. This is like a very aggressive. This is the most aggressive version you can play. This is the standard that I recommend for newer players, and this is the niche playstyle that I recommend for support roaming. They even took my Relentless, which is such a rare thing. People don't take Relentless. People see like, oh, this is like movement speed out of combat. There's no value, because people don't really think it too much. But yeah, these are my runes, essentially. So this is incredible. I'm really happy about this. And I just hope that they change this, because, yeah, these summoners are just going to bait so many new Vel'Koz players. That out of the way, okay, let's touch on the build path. I will show you the runes that you're going to be running for every single role, okay? I've tested Vel'Koz top lane with the tank builds, with the regular builds, Vel'Koz mid lane, Vel'Koz AP carry, Vel'Koz support, and even Vel'Koz jungle. I don't think you should play that in ranked. Probably above master. Maybe you can get it to diamond, but higher than that is probably not that good. Let's get into the role overview first, because I do believe it's important to tell you what roles are very good right now and what impact you can provide. Vel'Koz jungle, not superb. You can do pretty well now because jungle is easy for literally everybody. The role just got buffed. It was made way too easy to play, and even Vel'Koz can get away with it in the early game. But as you can imagine, there are better champs to play that. So above master, you will get punished. But until master, you could probably even run Vel'Koz jungle. Diamond for sure. Not to dwell on that, let's move on. Vel'Koz top lane got slightly better in Season 13. You're going to be beating pretty much every single tank. If you face any sort of the one-man army champs, you're going to be in big trouble. Stuff like Irelia, Yone, Yasuo, Camille, all of that is just going to absolutely destroy you. Riven, Fiora, all of that will destroy you, so you have to be really good versus them. It would be best used as a situational pick, in my opinion. You see what enemies pick before you, and then you can like decide, oh, Vel'Koz into Maokai, Vel'Koz into Malphite, Vel'Koz into whatever. You will deal with most tanks. You will crush Mundo. You will crush all of that. So yeah, that's a situational pick. Third most popular playstyle would be the Vel'Koz AP carry, which I thought it was going to be absolutely superb, but Riot has done so many changes from PB, and this is why I didn't want to make a guide very early on. They did so many changes. Archangel got reverted to the terrible ability haste version. Rod of Ages got nerfed, then it got nerfed, then it got buffed slightly. So now we're in this weird spot where Rod of Ages is not that great on Vel'Koz. You can usually get better items. I think it's far too slow for solo queue. In competitive, we might see it here and there. For solo queue, it would be far too slow. So I'd advise against it. It might gain a bit more value in lower elo because you're permitted to scale for a bit longer because people don't know how to play the game. But even still, I think practicing correct playstyle would be better. So I think the default for the AP carry would be the Liandry's playstyle. And the impact is alright. It's alright. You have a little bit of less experience in this season due to the shared XP nerf. But the plates are worth more. You can push plates very early in bot lane, because bot lane has no damage mitigation on the towers. You can do that in the first 5 minutes as well. And you will be better than most AD carries. You will beat most AD carries, level 6 and on, up until they get like 3-4 items, and then they super scale. So Vel'Koz AP carry is pretty solid. Now on to the second most popular playstyle, and the one I deem the best in this season will be the Vel'Koz support. Vel'Koz support is the second most popular, and I think you cannot do anything better than that. If you're a Vel'Koz enjoyer, I recommend you learn to play Vel'Koz support, at the very least one playstyle. There's so many different Vel'Koz playstyles on support, and I will be making a video on the one that I found really interesting with the first strike Vel'Koz. I'll show you how that is played in great detail. I think it's going to be really good for the Season 13. Vel'Koz support, you will mostly be running with either Night Harvester or Landries. It used to be like that as well, but now there's a bit... Now we have something closer to parity. Landries is more useful in more games, basically, so it rose in value based on the HP values going up and the champions overall getting tankier, so the teamfights last longer, so Landries gains more value. And the most popular version of Vel'Koz, which is the mid lane. As you know, Vel'Koz is not even classified as a mid laner, and Riot pretty much pushed him out. Every laner can kind of lane easily. There's plenty of sustain in the game with Doran Shield and the refillables. All the sustain with a resolve and teleports, so anyone can get away with a lane, and like they shouldn't lose that much CS. So your punishment in the early game is not enough to punish the late game scaling characters or assassins who just outscale and like do much better than you, or just absolutely crush you in lane. With the Vel'Koz mid lane, you would be playing for the marginal advantages. You have slightly more experience, you have slightly less gold in the season. Plates are worth more, which tells us that we have to stick to mid lane a bit more, which means teleport would be mandatory in the playstyle, and you would be controlling waves. Your biggest job would be controlling waves. So if you play mid lane, I implore you to actually focus on the wave management, what you're doing when you're recalling, because that will be the most important thing. And you will be playing on a marginal like 52% win rate, because you won't be winning too many, even though you deserve them, because mostly you're playing for your team. Mostly you're just managing and like creating one plate advantage, one kill advantage, 12 CS advantage, stuff like that. Very marginal stuff, and they will not break the game open. So if you play Vel'Koz mid lane, do not be surprised if you need a lot of games to actually for your skill to shine through, as the impact will be quite low from what I've noticed in the next season. Okay, so now let's get through the runes. So, in this Vel'Koz guide, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the pre-Season 13 and into the Season 13 changes, and how exactly you're going to run that. So we're going to go through all the playstyles, all the possible playstyles for Vel'Koz, pretty much all of them that you would really need. So this is a very standard, super solid playstyle, which you can run on AP carry, mid lane, and top lane at the same time. This works basically everywhere. You can't go wrong with it, and you're scaling for that 2-item power spike usually. You want to get that Landries into Horizon Focus, or you want to get that Ludens into Shadow Flame usually. So here's the second mid lane variant, which is very aggressive. This is the most aggressive way you can run mid lane Vel'Koz, and it serves the purpose of punishing usually melee characters, because you're pairing it up with Cheap Shot, so you can do quite a lot of damage in these scenarios. These are probably my favorite Vel'Koz support runes, and they're the highest impact. They're very risky, but with insane reward. What you're intending to do with this is to maximize your damage output across team fights, skirmishes. So the reason why we take Dark Harvest is, first of all, it scales infinitely compared to Comet. Second of all, it has that resetting factor, which heightens your impact, essentially. If you get one kill, you're much more likely to get another right after. Closing out the kills is better. Damaging someone from 100% to 90% is not the same as damaging someone from 10% to 0%. So even if you were going to do, which you will, do less damage in Comet, there is an argument to be made about the value of a single damage point not being equal based on enemy health. So, not to mention you have the surprise factor. People will not expect that you're going to be in lethal when they're below 50%, while you will calculate that in advance and actually burst them. Much more room for enemy mistake, greater punishing. The value in the team fight is through the roof because you can proc it so many times. That's basically it. But you trade off a little bit of that early game pressure with the Comet. So that's the trade-off. And as long as you're good with this playstyle, you can do it. You can do it well. You pair this up with either Night Harvester or Landries, as we talked about. Next playstyle I'm going to show you is this Money Maker First Strike Vel'Koz. It's a very niche thing, which is useful in different options. You can run that for a bit more immediate power, or you can run this for a bit more scaling power. This is the way you run it. You get over the spikes a lot better because of future market. You get free boots. You accelerate your build essentially, and this is something that's very good to use when enemies have a bunch of tanky targets and you require anti-heal, which with this money making, you're saving a lot of money here, you're making a lot of money here, and you can buy stuff earlier here, which means you're gonna get to that Lineries into Oblivion Orb very early on, and you're gonna break the team fight. So you can get that by 15 minutes actually if you play really well. This is also paired up very well if you're playing bot lane with Vayne, playing bot lane with Twitch, with characters that you're not really gonna get fed with because you're not gonna get kills. Those champs just don't play to get kills, they play to scale. So in order for you not to run pointless pressure, which is just going to buy your AD carry a little bit more room, or you're going to be running Dark Harvest, which you're not going to stack up because you're never fighting or skirmishing, you will be running First Strike, which is going to permit you to make money while your AD carry is farming safely. You apply pressure and poke while still making money, and that's very good for you, and you're both getting accelerated to that mid-game spike. So some of you might be still confused about the items because I ran through it quickly. There's the Vel'Koz item guide that I've written. It's about a 5-minute read, and you can read on my Patreon for free, actually. I will put it down in the description, so you can just check this out and read it if you have 5 minutes, and it's going to tell you all the item builds for every single role. Exactly all of them. So yeah, you can just click the link in the description or the first comment and read this. That reminds me, for every single Patreon tier, I'm sending IRL stuff. I'm sending signed postcard with some Vel'Koz stickers, some very cool stuff for this holiday season. As you know, we usually do. It should be pretty interesting, so if you want to opt in, it's not too late. I will be sending maybe in a week. So just shoot me a message with your address and details for me to send you stuff. And there you go, as long as you're here. And the final thing, or the first thing that I criticized, is the summoner spells that they put very weirdly. Riot Games put them very, very weirdly in this season. So instead of Ignite, instead of taking Ignite, I will advise you to take Teleport as mandatory top lane and mid lane, obviously. For jungle, you want to go Smite, obviously. On the AP carry, you can actually get away with Teleport, because Vel'Koz doesn't necessarily need a secondary rune, because you're very rarely in those crazy skirmishes. You're most often in clean positions where if you have nodal support, he hooks you one shot, that's it, you know. So wave management is a bit valued more, but you can also get away with going heal. That's totally fine. You can outmaneuver enemy AD carries with that. It's pretty good. Exhaust could be good if you can get in range with it, and barrier if your support is running heal. So on support, you're going to be going conversely. Heal is probably the most optimal you want to get, because you want that movement speed both for engage, helping your AD carry, and to reposition, and to like bait enemies into weird scenarios. If your AD carry is running heal, you will go barrier, and if you can get in range, you can get exhaust. Exhaust is not bad versus some skirmishy characters that have to go in. Champs that really have to go in. Before doing most of their damage, you can deal with them. Something like Samira can get very punished by exhaust because she has no way out. So yeah, that's about it for this quick Vel'Koz Season 13 guide update. I'm sure most of you are familiar with my previous work and my most popular videos where I talk about Vel'Koz in general, how to play, the different playstyles and all of that. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments. And yeah, I'm always on stream for more Vel'Koz discussion. This is still not a done deal. There's way more testing to be done, but this is like a very, very good solid baseline for Season 13. I will show you the playstyle that I found very intriguing on support next, which is something we haven't really done before on this channel, but every other playstyle is pretty much well documented in my channel with plenty of guides to go along. As long as you're curious, you can find basically everything and learn 99% things that I learned over like 8 years of playing this champion. So yeah, it's all perfectly attainable as long as you're just willing to do it and do a little bit of digging.